ideas for what we could do with the app and all that kind of good stuff. So let me share my screen. It's kind of, I was excited by the idea, so I kind of went ahead, started working with that. All right, so so let me show you a couple things real quick that will help in development. And you may already know this trick. So if I go like this, now it's like this. You can see it full screen like that. So this is the app that I have on my local host right now. Now what I'll do is I'll take the changes that I've made. See, I haven't committed all the latest ones. So I'll say added styling to results. Okay, and then I will push that up. So if you pulled master right now, you would have these changes, but you can also view this app by going to this link here. And so I'll put that in the video, like paste it as a link whenever I post the video. But that's just kind of the repo that I'm working with. So all that I've done so far is on key down, or on key up, sorry. So on key up, it does a search on Spotify for a relevant album. So the one I kept using today was Thriller by Michael Jackson. So every time you press a key, it does a search. So now you see I've got Thriller by Michael Jackson. So if I were to click on this, it will take me to Spotify.
So that information came from Spotify.
So there's that. So I'm thinking a way that we can continue with the app is do search songs and search artists.
Okay.
Things like that. But I'll show you what I've got so far. So you'll see there's a little hamburger menu here. That doesn't work yet. We can add a link to this icon here that takes you to home. We'll have to create a home page. So yeah, that's what I was working with today. I wanted to make sure that we could get responses from the API that I'm working with and make sure that we can get data flowing. So that's what we got so far. I did some basic styling, and you may not be able to see this in the video, but whenever you click into the input, it gets a little darker. So there's actually an animation that is attached to that. Kind of eases it in.
What gets darker?
What gets darker?
The input. So look at the border of the input, and as I press it, see it gets a little darker. Very subtle, but there's other things that we can do too. We have to keep in mind that we're doing this on mobile, so any kind of hover event won't work unless you have specific kinds of phones. So we will have to just keep in mind that we're working with mobile. So if you go inspect, and then there's a little icon right here. You can click on this, and this will show you what your web page looks like on a mobile phone. So like if you pulled this website up on your iPhone, hopefully it would look like this. So there's that. So really simple. Let me pull up the email that the instructor gave me. It sounds like our app can stay fairly simple. It doesn't need to be anything complex, which is good. So that's what I've been working on. And we can just extend it. Like we can use the same AJAX request to send a different, like we can search artists versus albums, you know, etc. Okay, so this is, oh, that was the general one, and then this was the app idea. So this all sounds very good. You have more than enough for a team app. Make sure that your scope is not too large. but what you have would work very well. I do not have any reservations with the concept. So then if I go, oh yeah, okay, so that's good to know as well. So he said, how would we use local storage? And I was thinking what we could possibly do is have a little save icon somewhere on these search results to where whenever you hit save, it saves information for a specific result into your local storage. That way you could pull it up and have like a running list of saved entries. So maybe like albums that you want to save and listen to later, you could have a little save icon that does that. So that is my thought. So it looks like we're on a good trajectory there. Any questions about the app? Do you want to dive into some code? Let's see, Michael, are you still there? Okay, so it looks like we lost Michael. So I'm going to resend him an invite. Hopefully we get him back. But just for the purpose of other people being able to watch these videos, I will go ahead and go through some code. So here, there's some, oh, sorry, I'm on the wrong thing here. So there's some things I want to highlight about the app. So I split it up into two different places. One is app.js, which will just get our basic, this will store all of the functions that we will request on each of our pages. So on KeyUp, we've got get albums, and then we're passing in the text value, so this.value. So if I go back to app, we see get albums is right here. You'll notice that I'm referencing a AJAX request function. This function takes an API, and I've got that endpoint right here since this is the API we'll be using. And then any other kind of request that we want to make, we take in the input, we make it safe for the search string, the encoded URI. And then we pass in the type of request we want to make, which is a GET request in this case. Then we have a callback function. So if I go into my requests, you can see it takes a URL, a request type like GET, POST, or PUT, and a callback function. So then the callback function gets passed the response. So if we go back here now, you'll see that we handle the response. We turn it into a JSON object, and then I loop through it and get the information that I want. I grab the search results div, and then we store that information there. So that's the high level of how that's done. Hey, Michael, are you back with us?
Yeah, I'm back. I have no idea
Okay,
what
awesome.
happened, but first I lost the audio and then the video.
Oh, okay. Well, I just kind of went ahead and kept explaining. That way, when you go back and watch the video, there's not a pause for you.
Okay, great.
So whenever you watch the video, you'll see that. I was just explaining about the AJAX request. So you see this big chunk of code here. I looked at the documentation, and this is how you do a search. So you have a parameter called search, or you say that you're making a search request. Then your query is formatted like this. So you pass in an input. And since there could be spaces in album names, we encode the URL to have safe characters for spaces and things like that, because it's making a request over a network. And then this is your type of request, and then your callback function. And all this is doing is it's grabbing a div on our index page called search results, and it's stuffing information from the JSON in there. So what I'll do to kind of help us see that in action, I will do console log object. So you see that we are returning JSON. So if I go to my requests, this function is our callback function, and we pass in the response text. So at the very beginning, this is not a JSON object. So we have to parse it to become a JSON object. So at this point, obj, it is an object. So then you see that I'm grabbing a specific object within the general return. So object.albums.item. So let me show you how I know to get that. I'm gonna go back to my local host here, refresh. I'll do it in mobile, and then we'll go Thriller. So now if I look at my console, there's a ton of objects because every time I do a on key up, it grabs an object. So let me show you that in action. Like that. You see how that grabs it every single time? So now, if I look in this object, there's an object within the object called albums. There's a property inside that called items. So that's what I drilled down to, object.albums.items. So this results here is an array.
Okay.
And then that's what I do with it here is I iterate over the array. So let me show you what's inside that array to give you an example. So then you have 20 more objects. If you drill down into one, you get just information. So these are all the search results, your items. So it's got an href. So this is the external link. Oh, sorry, that's not. Sorry, external URLs is the link that you would visit in your browser to get to that album. It's got other information like available market. So that's where you could purchase the album or view it in this case. It's got images. So it's got external links to images. So it gives you a ton of information that you can use. Then it's got a name, Thriller 25 Super Deluxe Edition. So you'll see that I've got Thriller 25 Super Deluxe Edition here. And then if I go back up, it's got an artists array. And then in that artist array, it's got a name, Michael Jackson. So you see that I just append that on the end there. So one thing that I want to work on next is get this to view a little bit more, kind of style that a little bit more. So I was thinking if you're okay with it, we could just do that live right now.
Okay.
Kind of interact with it a little bit and do like a live demo. So this is what I'm thinking. So now that you kind of have a basic understanding of the data, let me tell you a little bit more about how this works. So in JavaScript, we want to create dynamically a div for each result that we retrieve. So you see in this for loop, we start to grab some information. Each of the items in the item array, I'm storing as a result. So that's the result variable. And then you can see the different types of information I'm grabbing. So I'm grabbing the album name, grabbing the artist name, and I'm grabbing the external link so that when we click on it, it actually takes us somewhere. So let's go back to this. So if I go albums.items, that will give us items. Now what we need is, get this a little cleaner here. External URLs, images is what we need. So it's going to be results, images. And I'm not going to worry right now about grabbing every single image because you can see that there's different types of images that you can grab for each one. I guess there's multiple album covers. So in this case, I'm going to grab an image. It's going to be part of the items array, which I'm calling results here. And then I'm going to call it image. I'm going to go back here to make sure that that's right. So here's, at this level, we're calling it results. And then images. So I would need to rename that from image to images. And then I want to grab just the first one. So that's an array, images dot, and then it's going to be, I think, name. is what it's going to be at this point. Oh, here we go. Images.url. So I want to grab the URL. So you'll notice if I grab this URL here, and then I copy and paste it here, it pulls up the album cover. So they've given us in their response a public link to the album cover. So we can use that in our app. So images 0.url. So this will give us that link that we're looking for. So now, this is the question I have. I'm not 100% sure if this will work, but I'm going to try it. Let's say image source equals see if we can stuff it in here. This will be kind of a test. And so we'll say image. All right, let's see if that gives us the image here. So we got the image, but it is very, very large. This is the image we were just looking at, this one. So then one thing that I do whenever I'm developing, I'll take a look at it. I'll say inspect. So this has a default image size, 640 by 568. So what we likely want to do with these is we want to give it a width of, let's start with 100 px. That's much more manageable. We can work with that a little bit. So let's try make it even smaller. If we get too small, it's kind of, you know, be a little bit hard to read. But we'll work with that initially. So let's take it to maybe 70, maybe 80. Yeah, so we'll try 90 at first. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here. I'm going to apply some styling to this. So class equals, we'll call it result image. And here in my CSS, I'm going to go to this file. And I've created a class called result image. So here I'm going to apply that width I was just playing with, 90 px. But I also saw it was doing some weird things with the text. So now I'm going to do float left. See what that does for us.
Are you in a meeting?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so maybe we'll go around 6.
I'm gonna wait for her to tell me when to come.
Oh, okay. She texted it, or she knows to let you know.
So that didn't quite give me what I wanted there. It's kind of breaking out of the container. So in order to make that a little bit more friendly for me, maybe we can do this. Instead of floating it, maybe I can just say display inline block. So you can see I'm not like a CSS expert. I do a lot of just tinkering just to see what I can get.
CSS constantly surprises me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So you see there, that's a little bit better solution to that. So instead of making it float, which is breaking it out of the parent container, I just made the image in inline block element. So this acts more like a span. So this here is still a little wonky. I don't like that. So what I can do, let's try this. So on this A tag in here, I can try float, right? Not exactly. So let me look at my image again, see what we're getting. Okay. So maybe what I can do is wrap that A tag in a span, and that will treat it like two inline elements. So you can see I really don't got all of this figured out. I'm just kind of try to span here, wrap it like that. Yeah, still not really doing what I want. So I'll have to mess with that a little bit more. So then I kind of I might take a second and say, okay, how do I want this to look? And instead of making changes in there, maybe I'll just pop back here in here and see what damage I can do essentially. So here, there's some cool tricks. You can right click on an element in here and edit as HTML. And then I can dynamically add a span around this image. Let's see where I'm at. So here, that applies that. It didn't do anything, but now maybe what I can do is take this span. Oh, so now I think I've identified what some of the issue is here. So because spans don't have 100% height, this text here is able to sneak up under it. So maybe we want to take a different approach. So instead of making those inline blocks, let's see where we're at in modules. I'll just let that be as is. And what I'm going to do is wrap this image in a div. I'm going to change the span to a div as well. Now, can you predict what this is going to do? What's going to happen is that because these divs take up 100% width of the parent element, they are going to pop the image and the text on different lines. We'll see if I'm lying about that. I could be. So now, if we inspect this, the image div is taking up 100% of the width, and this is taking up 100% of the width. So now what we can do is play around with that a little bit. So I'm going to change this div's width to, let's say, 30%. Now that doesn't do anything right off the bat because you can see that there's still like, I don't know what you'd call that. It's not taking up 100% of the width, but this container is. So now what we want to do is do we'll say this div has, so we did 30 before. So let's say this div has 70%. All right, so this one will say float, right? And then on this one, we will say float left. Okay. Now, in order to fix the result, we'll go clear both. Oh, I see. So now what we would have to do, this is where CSS gets very tricky. So now we need to do a default height on here. So we can see height 50 px. We can keep going up there.
Hey, that's nice.
That gives us more of what we want. It's still not ideal at this point because that height would have to be a set height for every album, which is not exactly what we want. So this is where we just keep, but in this case, it may work. So let's play with that a little bit more. So result, we'll try and record what we've got so far. So in modules here, we'll say result has got clear both on it. We'll say it has a set height of 100 px. And then we'll do, now we've got those two divs, but we don't have any class on them. So now we're going to play around with that a little bit. So this div we can call I'm going to take the result image class and I'm going to apply it to this one. And then this one I will call result description. Not the best names, but kind of doing this quickly. So result image, instead of width 90 px, we're going to do this one as 30%. And then inside there, we're going to set an image on, we're going to set that width to 90 px. Now we need result description here. I'm going to say this width is 70%. We're going to float right, and float left. All right, let's see what we've done here. So let me go back to app just to make sure I've named everything correctly. So result description, result image. Okay. Oh, I see. So better, but you see not all of the images are the same height.
It looks the same, right?
Yeah, but you see the, like this one, they don't have the same aspect ratio. So what we'll try and do is say height and then kind of bump that up. To 110. And that's going to be result. So this one needs to be 110 px. So now let's look again. Okay. Looks a little better. Not bad. Okay, so instead of,
how come the first one doesn't go down as far as the others?
so let's do a little inspection here. So this one,
Is that still set at 90 individually?
this one, that one is 90.
That's a hard 90 instead of taking the 110 for the whole space.
Oh, it's the width is on, it's on the width, not the height. So let's play with that a little bit. So let's set, instead of trying to set the width, let's try and set the height to 90 px and let's see what happens. Interesting. So you see the aspect ratio on these are not the same. So this one has a bigger width than this one. But maybe what we can do to get around that is we can,
You know, I think it's funny that every one of the other pictures they're all lined up except for the first one.
yeah, that one has a different, it just has a different aspect ratio, which is kind of bugging us out a little bit. So 40% there on the result image, and let's say 60, we'll drop that down to 60%. There we go. That gives us a little bit more space to work with. That's not necessarily the best, But let's move on to styling this part. So we've got the way I've done it right now is that we've got a link here. Which is nice. So instead of having those both on the same line, I will say, I'm going to chop this off here. I'm going to remove the quotes around that. I'm going to say album that. I'm going to wrap this a tag in a div. What this will do is pop it on its own line. And then I want to put the artist on its own line as well. So we'll do a div, and then I will have closing tag for that one. The artist there. Now, it's kind of hard to read this.
Yeah, I'm on my phone.
So in an effort to make this a little more readable, one trick that you can use is you can split this off onto different lines. So then we can kind of see how the actual how it would look in HTML, like in an actual structured format. So that looks like the closing tag to that one. Okay, sorry, this part's a little bit tedious. We're getting there. And then hopefully you'll see kind of how we're forming this. Okay, so that looks a little bit better. See, we've got the result image, we've got the result description. In the result description, we're going to have 2 lines because we have 2 divs, and one is going to be the album with the link on it, and one's going to be the artist. So let's hope we didn't just destroy everything. There we go. We got the album and the artist. I'm not in love with the fact that this is white text and this is not. The reason for that is that this is a link.
It's kind of nice that you changed it though, so you can see that one's the title and one's the artist. I kind of like it.
Yeah, that is true. So I like that it's all here for you to see. If you're on a mobile device though, you're going to expect to be able to press anywhere on that box and have it link you to the thing. So currently if I click on this image, it doesn't do anything. If I click on the artist name, it doesn't do anything. So I'm going to change that. So I am going to let's see how the best way to do this is. So here, oh, I know what I can do here. So here I will take this, take my external link, that's on. issues there, so I'm going to tidy that up. All this on one line. Okay, then we need to add the So what I've done is I'm wrapping the entire result in the link. Move that over. There we go. All right, let's see what that does. Now it gives us both the same color text, and then clicking anywhere on there, if we inspect it, that is all one big link. So I click on the image, takes us there. If I click on the box, takes us there. So that makes it a little bit more user friendly. All right, last thing we'll do is
So you're not the one that changed the color of the artist?
so what, that's a very good question. So what I've done is earlier, not on this video, I changed to where every link will have the color white. And the reason I did that is because we're doing it inside these boxes now. And so now, if you wrap anything in an A tag, any text within that A tag will now have white text instead.
I see. Okay, so it's just following your CSS for what used to be the album link.
Okay. Okay, so let's do, I'm going to shrink down the text just a little bit. Probably good right there, so 0.8. Then I kind of don't like how that's a little pushed over too much. So I'm going to go result description. I'm going to make this width, let's try 65. And then the result image will make a little bit better. As you scroll here, see all your results there. We could do another search. We can just kind of test it out a little bit. The wall. There you go. If we click on this, it will take us to, you can play that if you wanted to. All of a sudden reset on this, that's weird. Oh, that's what. Okay, so sometimes I do that. I will make style changes and then I just forget that they're only temporary in there. So then if I go back to modules here,
You make them in your console and forget.
I do it all the time. So font size, even play around. We'll try 0.7 EN. That might be a little too small, but we'll see what we get. Result image, we're gonna try and make that, I don't know. Let's try and make it even smaller, 32. And this one would be 68. Okay, let's see what we get here. Oh, that's pretty small in the text. I'd make that bigger. So then I can just come in here and inspect it. Make it really big if we wanted to. Make it very readable. Anyways, that's the tutorial in a nutshell.
All right.
I just wanted to do that quickly this evening because I know that it's kind of like you hear me talk about stuff I'm doing, but you don't always get to see it in action. So this will be a documentation of kind of the way I go about things, which is not always the best way, not the worst, but it's one way to do it. There you go. So we'll continue to work on this. For next week, I'm going to try and break the app down into functionality and have that Trello board that we talked about worked out, so that we can have actual assignments. And then we'll start going maybe next week through everything that needs to be done to make it complete and who's going to do what, etc.
Okay.
So, like, for example, we still need to do the menu. We can do some additional styling, different places. But we'll play around with that idea. So that's that. Any questions about code topics?
No, I was gonna ask you something, but I'll let it go.
Okay. Are you sure you don't
I'll
want
try to figure it out. I definitely have to submit something tonight to
to? Okay.
get it to the teacher.
I'll commit these changes. I'll push that up. Just to kind of reiterate how this works, I will now go over to the live Spotify app. You see this is still working like it was. Now we'll reload the page. And all our changes. All right, that's it.
Okay.
All right, we'll see you next Monday, and then please chat me if you have any questions.
Okay. Thanks, Daniel.
All right, thank you. Bye.